Good, hey everyone, I think we can start. A warm welcome, and it's great to see some familiar names and faces that have attended the other webinars. A warm welcome to you as well. The webinar this afternoon is about personal well-being or personal fulfillment. This is the fourth one in the range of the Shadow Match applications. You'll remember we've did the optimal placement, we've done the employee development and support, we've done the team analysis, team application, and then today is the personal fulfillment or personal well-being. Just a reminder that we've got still more webinars coming, the skills grid, the study report, the career report. So please visit our website, shadowmatch.co.za. You will remember under the events tab, top right corner, you will see the webinars and we load them as the dates come. So please visit and please book yourself for the upcoming webinars. As with all the other webinars, ladies and gentlemen, you are on mute, just to allow the presenters to present without any interruptions. Towards the end of the webinar, we will allow you to unmute yourself and then you can ask questions. If in the meantime you have a question, you can just pop your question in the chat and one of the Shadow Match team members will answer your question or alternatively present your question towards the end of the webinar. I think most of you know that I'm Lizette de Villiers. I will be presenting the first bit of the webinar, just talking about a bit about theory regarding well-being in the workplace and personal well-being. And then Susanne Conradi, our General Manager at Shadow Match, she will be doing the second half of the webinar, and that will be focusing specifically on the Shadow Match personal portal and how that assists in personal well-being and personal fulfillment, specifically in the workplace, but also for the individual in their personal capacity. So I think without any further ado, let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, personal well-being, our discussion points for this afternoon. We're going to talk about workplace well-being, then personal well-being in the workplace, and we're going to focus on success, fulfillment, and purpose. And then the last or the second half of the webinar, we're going to chat about the Shadow Match personal portal, and Susanne will be showcasing the Shadow Match personal portal. Workplace well-being, what is it not? It's not leaving a sailing boat to chance. Ladies and gentlemen, workplace is not having a sailboat. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I think I might not be heard. Okay. Sorry, I can see my screen is not shared, so just give me a moment. There you are. Now you can see my screen. There you are. Great. Thanks, Susanne. Thanks, Peter. Okay, so our discussion points for this afternoon, I'm not going to repeat them. Workplace well-being, personal well-being in the workplace, and then the Shadow Match personal portal, and Susanne will be showcasing that. Ladies and gentlemen, workplace well-being is not leaving a sailing boat to chance. If we compare business to a sailboat, it's definitely not having a boat at sea full of people, full of passengers, and just leaving it to steer itself. That is not what will instigate workplace well-being. We need to take ownership of that sailboat. We need to make sure that that boat actually is attended, that it's got a steerman, and that we are actually sailing in some direction to a destination. It's not just loading people on the boat and leaving it to chance. Workplace well-being is not about gimmicks. Ladies and gentlemen, gimmicks, I'm going to use some examples. Giving pizzas to everybody on a Friday. When we've worked hard and we've worked long hours, we give everybody a Kit Kat and we say that's for some energy. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing that, but giving free coffee, pizzas, and Kit Kats definitely does not equal workplace well-being. Yes, if we have a healthy working environment, we have a sailboat that is intact and it sails perfectly towards a specific destination, then those ad hoc pizzas, coffees, cappuccinos, Kit Kats comes as a token of appreciation. People see that as a thank you. But if we do not have a healthy workplace and we have a boat full of holes and we are constantly scooping water out our boat to keep it afloat, then those gimmicks actually just make people cross. Because then we try to fill the holes by putting plaster and sellotape. And that's definitely not going to keep our boat afloat. Workplace well-being is not leaving a workplace waiting for a better future or a better tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot, as the leadership of a business, just leave our workforce to chance. We have to take ownership as the leaders of a division, of the leaders of a team, or the leaders exco of a business. We need to take ownership to have a strategy, to paint the bigger picture, and to have specific goals and purposes so that people know what are we working towards. What does tomorrow or the future hold? We cannot just leave it and hopefully our staff will smell and in their own way work out what this business is working towards. Workplace well-being is also not about a funky environment. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. It does not mean that we shouldn't have a funky environment. Definitely, that makes the workplace meaningful, that makes the workplace funky, that creates a culture, it creates a vibe. So a funky environment is always very good to have. But a funky environment only does not equal to workplace well-being. A funky environment, again, if we have a healthy environment, we have a boat that's afloat without any holes in it, then a funky environment makes people feel at home. It contributes to the vibe and to the culture. But a funky environment only, with bad leadership, no strategy, no goals, no purposes, no performance management, and the list is endless, does not make people happy, and it does not bring well-being to the individual and to the workplace holistically. Employee well-being, ladies and gentlemen, equals business well-being. It's not the one or the other. It is the one and the other. Employee well-being, and if we look after every employee in our business, that equates to a business that is healthy. It equates to workplace well-being. Now, workplace well-being, I've now said this a couple of times. What is it? If it's not Kit Kats and pizzas and free cappuccinos, what actually is workplace well-being? It's all about personal well-being. And that's where we start building a workplace that is healthy. And that is where we start building a boat that stays afloat without any holes. It's about starting with the individual. And we're going to look at personal success, personal fulfillment, and business and personal purpose. If we look at success, ladies and gentlemen, it starts with recruiting the right person for the job. Now, you will see throughout the presentation this afternoon that all the shadow match applications actually work towards having a personal well-being in the workplace. All the shadow match applications contribute to having a holistic workplace that is healthy and where people live with happiness and where they find meaning and purpose. And that starts firstly with personal success. Recruiting the right person for the job. The individual needs to suit the environment, the team, and the culture. If I recruit the person that is not suitable for the job, I actually set that individual up for failure. So that's where I start with success. Then secondly, development. And you will remember the webinar about employee development and support. Once I've placed somebody in a job, I need to look at the development of that individual. That individual needs to grow in the job, but also in the company with regards to succession planning and future roles that that individual will hold. Then positive performance management. Now, this is not performance management in the sense of the word where we all have a negative connotation that if somebody's not performing, I start with performance management. Positive performance management is all about helping the person in his current or her current role be the best that they can be. Giving them the tools, equipping them with skills, with training, so that they are the best at what they currently do. I help the individual to positively and optimally perform in their current role. In that sense, in Shadow Match, we have the work match report, and Suzanne will be showcasing that a little bit later. That's one of the reports in Shadow Match that you can help and use to help an individual grow in their current role and develop towards a top performing individual in the current job. And then success is also about the remuneration package. This is not just salary, ladies and gentlemen. We look at the holistic picture, what I offer to the person. Does this person that work for me feel that they are valued in terms of what I pay them? what I offer them in terms of leave, in terms of a car allowance, and. So this is not just the salary. Yes, we need to pay market-related salaries if we want people to become successful and feel valued and see that I actually appreciate the work that you do on a daily basis. So those are the things that contribute to personal success. And that's our first stake in the ground towards a workplace well-being. The second one is fulfillment. Now, fulfillment is all about the here and the now. They talk about mindfulness, my experience of the moment. And the first thing we talk about when we look at fulfillment is relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, research indicates, and I'm not always sure that I agree with research, I think it's actually much more than what they say, but they say 70% of people end up with a minister of religion, a pastor, a therapist, a psychologist, or some form of help, counseling, because of relationship difficulties. And these relationship difficulties are relationships in the workplace, but also relationships in their personal lives and personal capacity. So in order to work towards an individual that feels fulfilled and looked after, we need to allow them to take control and ownership of their relationships in the workplace as well as in their personal lives. Now, Shadow Match offers relationship reports, and Suzanne will show you on the Shadow Match portal. Individuals can take ownership of the relationships in their lives by means of these relationship reports. That helps them if they do then realize that this relationship is really in big trouble. They have a relationship report and they can start taking action. And if they then have to go and see someone, they've already taken some steps and they already have some information that they can take to a counselor or a therapist to help them. But relationships is extremely important. If we have people living in healthy relationships, they are productive and happy in the workplace. Then job satisfaction. An individual feels fulfilled if they, in their current job, on a day-to-day basis, feel satisfied. They feel that there's a sense of value and meaning. They have to leave the office in the afternoon and say, today I made a difference to my team, to the business at large, to my division. My job gave me satisfaction because I made a difference, I contributed, I'm empowered to add value to the bigger goal and the bigger purpose of the business. And then lastly, the fulfillment that an individual experiences in the workplace, ladies and gentlemen, is all about team integration. Again, you will remember the webinar about the team application and shadow match. An individual needs to feel part of a team. They need to understand themselves in the bigger picture of the team. They need to understand the team, and they also need to understand the team members. And how do we contribute? And what's the role clarification? And why do I have the specific role I have in this team that I serve and in this team where I am a member of? So in order to feel fulfilled, and fulfillment is our second stake in the ground towards personal and workplace well-being, is relationships, job satisfaction, meaning, and team integration. And then purpose, ladies and gentlemen, that's the third on our list towards a workplace that is healthy and where people experience value and meaning. Here we talk about the business purpose firstly. An individual needs to understand the bigger picture of the business as well as his or her own role in the bigger picture. I've specifically chosen this photograph of the cycling team. If we think about a cycling team, let's say in the Tour de France, what's the bigger picture of the team? Yes, we want to win the Tour de France. What's my role in this bigger picture? Am I the person that needs to hand the water to the cyclist? And am I supposed to hand the water in such a way that the cyclist doesn't have to slow down, will not fall, will not have to take his eyes off the road? What's the bigger picture? What are we working towards? And I need to understand my role in this bigger picture. So that's the personal purpose, the role clarification. Am I the junior cyclist that have just entered the team and my job in this team is to be the pacemaker? I'm not going to win. I need to pave the road, set the pace so that person A that has been identified as the winner have the entire field and have the makeup in the team to win the Tour de France. That's my role clarification. I'm not competing with him. I'm paving the way for this person to win this race. Then what is the career progress? If I have my role clarification and my purpose in the team, in my division and in the business at large, then I, as a business, need to clarify the career progress for this individual. If I'm now the junior cyclist, I know when they recruited me that in 3 years from now, I'm earmarked to win the Tour de France. So I know what the future is for me. And that's what purpose is all about. Where fulfillment is about the here and now and the mindfulness in the moment. Purpose is about the future. What are we working towards? What are the goals that we set for ourselves in the future? That's what purpose is all about. And that's what we do for personal purpose for an individual. Role clarification, career progress, and then coaching the person to become the winner in 3 years' time, to win this Tour de France in 3 years from now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the boat that we have that's at sea, the 3 holes that cause that boat to sink is if individuals don't experience success in the workplace, if they don't feel fulfilled, and if there's no business and personal purpose for that individual. Those are the 3 holes in a boat that will make it sink. That is what will make a workplace miserable. And then what we constantly do if we have those 3 holes in our boat, because we haven't paid attention to it, to create personal well-being in the workplace, we will constantly be scooping water out the boat to keep it afloat. And what do we do then, ladies and gentlemen? Then we hand out Kit Kats to give people energy so that we continuously scoop out water so that we keep this boat afloat. And then nobody experiences success or well-being, and that does not contribute to a healthy workplace. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand to Susanne to show you on the system where Shadow Match allows you to give each individual the empowerment of taking control of their personal well-being in the workplace as well as in their personal lives. Thank you very much. Susanne, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lizette. Thank you for the very insightful presentation. I'm looking forward to the system part. Just from my side, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you back with us. So for the system part, as always, I will be using fictitious data. For the first element, I'm first going to log in as a system administrator to a company file. I want to showcase one of the reports on the system, but the main part will be focusing on the personal portal, but we'll get to that. Let me just start sharing my screen. Great, so once again, we're logged into company ABC. At this stage, I am the system administrator for this company. So everything I'm doing, you as client will be able to do live and interactively on your side. So the one report I'm looking for now is the work match report. Where do I find that? I go to that specific individual and then I can request it for any individual on the company. Today I'm going into company ABC, into the finance department, and into the specific role of financial auditors or financial accountants, actually. So if I see the list of my employees, I now want to select the work match report for a specific individual. For the purpose of the presentation, let's use Susan. And I can request this report on 2 places. Either in the left side menu here, if I go to the actions for that personal individual, so Susan Smith, and there I see on the list a work match report, or if I go to my top menu, under the reports tab, I can also find it there. Let's click on this report and see what happens. What the work match report is, it's a report written for the individual. So you'll see if we quickly take a look here, it's written for Susan. It refers to her own habits, the habits where you might need to, and. So it's not written for a system administrator, it's written for the individual themselves. This is the perfect report to start the journey of personal well-being. If we inform the individual about the content of this report, they can then understand their unique habit profile compared to the unique demands of the context that they're working in. What the report does is it's comparing the individual's unique habits to the benchmark of the top performers working in your specific company. Now, you remember in a previous webinar, we explained how we create that benchmark. Once you've identified the top performers and you understand the unique habits that are functional towards success for a specific role, in this case, financial accountants in company ABC, we can now compare. So the detail of the report will explain to Susan or to any individual then what are the specific demands for the overall context. What are the specific alignment for the critical match according to her habits and that of the benchmark group. The conceptual fitness, time utilization, time working with problems, task efficiency, attitude, and then there's a conclusion which we'll get to just now, but it's basically giving her the detail of this visual comparison of her unique habits, the habits in the purple and red and yellow, that's her unique habits, and then the gray is the benchmark of this specific unique role in this company. Now, if you are familiar with the matching report on the system, you will see it's similar to this, but it doesn't have the scoring, the question marks, the robots. This is to give the individual the visual representation to see, now I understand why this is a struggle for me, for instance, because there's a very intense demand for the habit of individual inclination, and this is my specific habit for that. And the report will guide her in every step in a positive way with the purpose of helping this individual in their unique context. The conclusion of the report will then highlight the specific development areas this individual should focus on to make their life easier in the current demands. So to say, if we're going to either develop individual inclination or propensity to own that specific habit for this individual, it's going to give her the right element of fitness for those habits to support her in that specific role. This is one report from the system side, but what about Susan? What about any employee or individual in a company out there? What is the support the system gives them? Good news, there's a whole personal portal. So I am going to log out. I'm no longer logged into a company system. I'm going to log in as an individual. So the personal portal sits outside of the system. It sits within an individual's device. They can access it at any time. They use their own unique email address and password. And good news, it's also mobile friendly. Okay, so for today, I'm logging in with a personal email address here. I'm going to the engine itself, shadowmatch.co.za. On the landing page, I put in my email address. Now the system picks up, I've seen this email before. You've completed a worksheet in the past. Let's open up your personal portal. I put in the password I chose as an individual, and now I'm logging in. Great. Okay, today I am now Susan Smith. So someone in my company has discussed my work match report with me. I understood my journey of development within the company, and now I want to access my resources from my side and take ownership of my own personal well-being and my own personal fulfillment. So on this portal, I have access to various things. Let's take it step by step. On my landing page, I first have information about a few reports, which we'll get to a bit later in this session. If I scroll down, I can see any requests or worksheet invitations that were sent through to me. You'll see Susan doesn't have any requests at this stage. This means no one requested her to complete the worksheet again. She still has her worksheet result. But if she wants to embark and do the worksheet again, from her own side, she can also start a worksheet. So you'll see she can then start a new Shadow Match worksheet or a Skills Grid worksheet. We'll get to Skills Grid in the next webinar, but from her side, she can then instigate a worksheet directly on her personal portal. If she now has completed the worksheet, like in this case, we have a valid result for her, she can now on her portal understand how to interpret her unique results. So you'll see she'll find Shadow Match result interpretation videos. Now we're going to watch one of these videos. it's a video that helps the individual to understand their own report, their own results. So if I watch this and I work through my own personal report, I'm informed how to accurately interpret the results. And you'll see, ladies and gentlemen, this means that you can independently and personally embark on your whole development journey. You don't need external intervention. You can be guided on your personal portal how to interpret everything correctly. So let's take a quick look at the first one here. Results interpretation video 1. Let me just pause, open it up for us, and let's hear what the video tells us.
At the end of the 2 results interpretation videos, you will be able to understand the shadow match individual results graph. An individual will complete an online worksheet. Whilst completing the worksheet, the system will observe and map the behavioral patterns of the person and generate the shadow match results. These results give an outline of an individual's behavioral patterns, and it is important to remember that the results will not indicate good or bad scores. The system generates an easy-to-read graph to provide the user with an outline of the behavioral patterns of the individual. To understand the bar graph, it is important to understand that all behaviors are measured within intensity brackets, or cutoff points. A score between 0 and 20 points indicates a planned behavior. A score between 20 to 30 points shows a necessary behavior. A score between 30 and 50 points is called a contextual habit. A score between 50 and 65 points is labeled a strong habit. A score above 65 points indicates a radical habit. So what does this mean? Let's unpack it further. A planned behavior indicates that the system could not identify a pattern in your behavior, and you will only engage in these behaviors if you really have to. It therefore becomes a task that you have to plan for and will require energy from you. When this behavior is needed on a continuous basis, it could cause you to experience discomfort and feel stressed. Unnecessary behavior is behavior that will happen without too much planning, but only when necessary. Should necessary habits be required on a regular basis, it will cause you to feel exhausted. Contextual habits are those habits that you use naturally, without planning, within day-to-day situations and activities. A strong habit is a predictable behavioral pattern. This behavior will easily be displayed without any planning, even in situations that are outside of your day-to-day activities. A radical habit is a very strong habit. You will follow this pattern of behavior in the majority of situations, and even do this in situations that are far removed from your everyday lifestyle and working environment. These behavioral patterns may even be forced onto others and situations without you even realizing it. For these habits, an individual doesn't have control over the behavior anymore. The behavior starts to control the person. It's important to keep in mind that all habits should always be interpreted with a context in mind. Habits are context specific. The easiest way to interpret habits is to always look at the score of the habit out of 100. Let's look at people positive as an example. If someone scores 16 for people positive, and the environment is a people-intensive environment, for example, helping clients, the person will start a working day full of energy. But by mid-morning, the 16 people positive points will be used, and this individual will feel exhausted and become stressed. Should the person, however, score 56 for people positive, it would mean that the individual will be able to work successfully with clients for a full working day. When a habit is needed for a context, and it is absent in an individual's profile, it could cause stress and discomfort. The opposite is also true. If an individual has a habit, but that habit is not needed in an environment, it can also cause the individual to experience stress. Example, if an environment demands a radical problem-solving habit, and the individual working in that environment only has a planned problem-solving habit, there will be a mismatch between the individual's habit and the demand from the environment. This mismatch will result in a feeling of incompetence, stress, and exhaustion. The opposite is also true. Should the environment demand only a planned problem-solving habit, and the individual has a radical problem-solving habit, there will be a mismatch. The individual's habit will be too strong for the environment, and this mismatch will result in a feeling of frustration, stress, dissatisfaction, and an urge to leave the environment. The next video will explain the rest of the shadow match results graph.
Great, thanks ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to show you one of the videos that you can see how easy it is to personally understand the results and embark on your own journey of personal well-being. So obviously the second video would then address the second part of your reports graph, the overall match, the time efficiency, the conceptual fitness, your attitude graph. I'm not going to show it today. Please feel free to go and watch it on your own personal portal. If we continue to scroll down, I can then actually access my own report interactively. So either my short introduction report or the full personal feedback report. If I click on read more, it opens up my report. So remember, I'm Susan in this case, and now I'm looking at my own report. You will see it's not matched against anything. This is my personal feedback report because it's my personal portal. I can see everything visually, and then if I want to read it interactively, I simply click on one of the habits and it opens up that section of the report applicable to that habit. So if now I went through my work match report, I've watched the results interpretation videos, and now I engage with my personal feedback report in a meaningful way, I can then understand, okay, this is the way my individual inclination manifests, and this is the way my habit of leadership manifests, and I can see the detail interactively. Now, on my personal portal, I can access other reports as well. I said a while earlier, we're going to get to them now, and this is now the time. So we've now seen our personal shadow match feedback report, but I also have access to my career report or my study report. If I go back to my dashboard, my landing page, I can access them here, the career report there, my study report there, or everything will be under my reports tab. Let's click on the career report. What is this report? Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join us for a future webinar. I think it's on the 21st of October. There's a webinar specifically about using the career report within business. For more detail on this report, for the purpose of today, I want to just showcase it in the personal well-being light. If the individuals within your company are embarking, they're all in various stages of their lives. Some individuals at this stage might be crafting their career path. They might be focusing on the next step in their career. This report helps that individual to get that sense of purpose that Lizette referred to at the start in the presentation, to say, but where am I working towards? What is the future? And what is the unique building blocks and elements that should be in my unique career journey? So the career report, I'll just quickly scroll through it for you. It's a Industry 4.0 enabled report. It's interactive, so the individual has access to very nice videos explaining all of the elements, as well as the written detail. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, as with all of the other reports, it's not a generic report. It's a unique report specifically according to your unique habits. So if I read my report, Susan and Lizette reads their reports, it's different content depending on their unique habit intensities. Just going to show you one of the indicators here. For instance, it would take an element about your specific unique preference for a certain element. Let's look at this, for instance. What is the broad focus of your career? And it will highlight what is the element of working with people, working with objects and tasks, working with ideas, and where is your unique position in all of this? Now, I'm not going to show you all of the elements because I want you to join into the future webinar as well, but you'll see this is a very nice interactive report that the individual can engage with on their personal portal by just clicking and opening that report. Okay, the next one we want to view is our study report. Now, this is if an individual is embarking on studying after hours, getting a next qualification, maybe an MBA, and obviously in learning institutions specifically where all of the individuals are studying. But remember, your employees, the personal wellness is about holistic personal wellness. It's not just their everyday 9 to 5 at the work. You are empowering and supporting them holistically. So the study report focuses on a different element. It guides the individual on the specific study methods that suits their unique habits. Once again, unique report based on my habit intensities, not a generic report. And it's guiding the individual to say, if we take your unique habit intensities into consideration, what are the specific things you should keep in mind when studying? And what are the specific study methods that would actually suit your habits? Now imagine if you had this, ladies and gentlemen, how easy a matric and university or anything you needed to study for in the past would have been. So I'm glad that my kids are one day going to have this and that I have this as an adult. If we scroll down, just want to show you one or two of the elements. It focuses on specific study areas, for instance, mathematics, calculus, stats. How do you study for that specific? What is my optimal study method? It's going to give me my unique video of all of the detail. And if you just scroll down a bit, it's giving me unique tips that I should be aware of when studying. If you want to hear more about the study report, join us on the 13th of October about the webinar specifically on that. Let's just quickly go back to our personal portal for now. What we've done until now, we've looked at our landing page. We've started to look at the various reports I have access to, my personal feedback report, my career report, my study report. But that's not all. My personal portal gives me more. What about the relationships that Lizette referred to? If you think about, that's one of the biggest areas why my personal well-being would be compromised, is because there is an element of something going wrong in any of my relationships, maybe not just my relationship with my work colleagues. So where do I go to access my great resources? On this tab in the top menu, relationships. Now this opens up my relationship report screen, and you'll see I have access to 8 different relationship reports. Let's quickly scroll down. Work, friendship, family, love, marriage, staying together, parent-child, and teacher-student. So any of the relationships within my life, my professional relationships, my personal relationships, I have resources to help me to understand these relationships. Let's see what this report actually does. Now, Susan has already requested a relationship report with Vilma. It's one of her colleagues. You will see it's a work relationship report. And let's view this report. What a relationship report does is it compares the habits of the 2 individuals in the capacity of that relationship. What do I mean by that? Responsiveness between spouses means something a bit different than between colleagues. So it takes the nature of the relationship into consideration. At this stage, we're looking at the work relationship report between these 2 colleagues. It then compares their habits to say, where are their habits at similar intensities? And what does that mean for those specific habits? Where are the habits at different intensities? And where are the habits on very different intensities that it might be a challenge for the relationship? Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, the underlying principle of shadow match is success for all. This report is not a negative report. It's going to guide you to understand the relationship and give you practical advice. It's not going to tell you, okay, you need to quit and go get another colleague somewhere else. It's a practical, positive report to say, let's understand this relationship to make a positive, fulfilling relationship within our capacity as colleagues in this case. If we scroll down, it's going to give us specific focus areas of habits. So we have a nice graph here focusing on our people-related habits. And now it shows the 2 individuals and where their intensities are on the specific elements of people habits. It gives us the task and object-related habits for the 2 individuals in this relationship. And it also gives us the internal or independent habits and where their unique preference is and how do they compare or align. If we scroll down, it also gives us the attitude and what our various approaches are to the environment. So this is a very nice cheat sheet to understand why do Susan and Vilma get along in the work environment, or what is it that frustrates them about the working engagement. Let's go back to our relationships. How do I request one? Very easy, I simply click and complete the details. So let's say I want to request it with one of my family members. I say request report, And now I complete the details of my family members. Put in the name, the last name, and the email address, and I simply click on send invite. What the system then does is it's searching for that individual. So it looks, does that individual have a completed shadow match worksheet? Yes. If they have a completed shadow match worksheet, the system has all of the data to compile this worksheet. Because this is such a personal relationship report or personal report in its nature, both individuals need to give consent to request this report. So if I put in my sister's details here and I say send invite, she will get an email on her side. If she has completed the shadow match report, the email is going to tell her, I have requested this report. Do you give consent? The moment she gives consent, both parties has given consent. I requested and she accepted, and we will have access to the report here, and it's also emailed to their two individuals. What if she hasn't completed shadow match before? I do exactly the same thing. The system searches for her on the back end, and if it doesn't find her, it then sends her a worksheet invitation to say, for me to generate this report, please complete the worksheet. Once I have your data, we can compare the habit intensities for the purpose of the report. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just on a serious note, think about the value you can add to individuals understanding the challenges in their relationships. If that line is crossed where it's no longer a management position, but it's more a counseling, supporting position, and you feel out of your depth as manager or as colleague, remember your colleague has access to this. Tell them, have you requested that relationship report? They can go through the report themselves, and then as needed, they can then discuss it with someone professionally, a pastor, a therapist, a loved one that can help them guide to manage this relationship in a positive way. On the light side, the relationship doesn't have to be a challenge for you to request the report. You can just understand, why does it frustrate you if your friends invite you to the party 2 hours before the party instead of a week before the party, like you would have preferred to, and you can understand and manage that relationship in a fun, productive, positive way. Okay, so that's our relationship report. Our next tab on our personal portal brings us to the development aspect. So if I go to my top menu, we've done relationships. I now click on the personal development option. This opens up my personal development programs. Now, once again, if you joined us for the employee support and development webinars, you would have seen the detail about this. I would urge you to go and watch the recording of that webinar. I'm just quickly going to show you where you can find that. On the Shadow Match YouTube channel. So we have a specific channel with all of the videos and the things we've published there. You'll see there's one here, employee support and development. You can watch the recording at any time for the detail about how to use the PDPs within a business. For today, I'm the individual, I have access to my personal portal. What if I want to develop specific habits? Now let's say I've read that personal work match report, and I've seen what was my development guidelines. Let's just open up my work match report again. This is just for Susan, that report we looked on this, took a look at on the system now. I just downloaded it, and here it's guiding me to say, focus on these recommended areas, individual inclination or propensity to own. On my personal portal, I do have access to all of the development programs, so all 20 of the habits, all 19 of the habits, in fact, as well as time management, and I can request any of them. But let's say I took the guideline of my work match report and I said, I want to embark on the journey of developing the habit of propensity to take ownership. I can then request it directly here. What is a PDP and what does it help me in my personal wellness journey? A PDP is an outcomes-based experiential learning development program. What that means is it's not a classroom setup. You're going to have to do something. It's broken up into phases. In each phase, you do something, do something, do something, do something, until you start learning this specific habit and until that intensity of the habit starts growing in your personal unique habit profile. The program is facilitated with the support of a mentor. The mentor does not have to be good in this specific habit. What do I mean by that? I don't have to be the perfect leader to help someone to learn the habit of leadership, because the content of the program is automatically part of the program. Shadowmatch has done that research for you to say, how do we learn this specific habit? What is the purpose of the mentor? The mentor is the support, the sound block that helps you to say, I am now embarking on this thing, please keep me accountable and make sure that I keep on my deadline. So let's say I'm now going to request my propensity to own PDP. I simply click request, and now I can complete my mentor's details. If we are using this within a company, we can load specific mentors there that I can choose from. If I'm embarking on this as a personal individual, I can request anybody to be my mentor. So I would complete the details. I am going to complete my own name here so that I am the mentor for Susan. There we go. She can then decide if she prefers to do this PDP, screen-based or paper-based. Screen-based means it opens up on my personal portal. It's interactive. I can access it at any stage. I see the first phase. I submit my answers to the phase. And if I click submit, my mentor is going to receive an email telling me that that specific individual has completed the phase. The mentor has access to their dashboard on their side, and everything is facilitated virtually via the email. We recommend this option because it's very nice and user-friendly, and you don't lose your paper. If you prefer to do the paper-based option, you still have that option. You then print out the whole development program in a document and you complete it, but then you need to facilitate the touch-based sessions with your mentor face-to-face. So obviously in the time of pandemic and the world where we are now, the virtual option is a very nice option because your mentor can sit at anywhere in the world and you can still facilitate that process. I can then also choose the type if I want to embark on a general PDP, a student PDP, or a sport PDP. The content is the same, but it then focuses on that specific type of development. So if I'm a student or if I'm an athlete, it will guide me in that way. The general option is perfect for personal development or general business development if I am an employee. The moment I click confirm, I'm now requesting this PDP and it's asking me, am I happy with the choices I've made? And if I click confirm, it's going to open up my PDP. I can then actually start. So let's say I'm starting my PDP and it's going to open up my phase 1. The details I have, the details that's going to guide me as the mentee, and then I can actually start with my first phase and what are the specific things I need to do in this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's summarize. Any individual that has completed the Shadowmatch worksheet has access to a personal portal. It's private, it sits outside the company or the institution that invited them to complete the worksheet. On their personal portal, they have access to resources that can help them understand their own behaviors. So our results interpretation videos, they have access to all of their reports interactively, be it their personal feedback report, or if they've chosen to request the career report and the study report, they can read it there as well. They have access to relationship reports to manage the relationship aspect of personal wellness, and they have access to personal development programs to actually go into action of what are the specific development areas I am going to embark on. The very last comment I want to make before I hand over back to Lizette is exciting news. We are actually in the process of redesigning the whole look and feel of your personal portal. You will please look out in your inbox. You will receive more information about this very soon. And it's even going to be more user-friendly and more easy to engage with. But all of these elements will still be there, just with a nice new funky design. Thank you, Lizette. At that stage, let me stop sharing my screen and hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. That was very well done and a very, very thorough walkthrough. I'm sure everybody found it insightful and a very nice display and showcase of what we did in the theory part. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to allow for you to now unmute yourself. I'm just going to change the setting and make sure if you do struggle to unmute yourself, you're welcome to just notify us in the chat. It has happened in the past that people can't unmute themselves. yes, it looks like you will be able to. So you're welcome to ask questions. If there are any questions whilst we wait for questions to come, I'm just going to quickly check the chat as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Suzanne also said, there are wonderful webinars coming up. The study report webinar will deal in detail with the content of the study report, as well as the thinking and the theory behind the study report. The skills grid webinars next week, we're going to showcase the skills grid, and we are actually going to complete a skills grid worksheet as part of the webinar. So those of you that have never seen the skills grid worksheet, please attend. Because that's going to be quite insightful, as well as some thinking behind the skills grid and how to apply that and how to use that in your business. Also towards personal wellness, personal fulfillment, and developing individuals for their current role and future roles within the business. And then we've got a webinar towards the end of October, some of you would have seen it, where we're going to spend time on how do you use the resignation files. In other words, when people resign, how do you use that to create benchmarks to learn from the resignation, so that when you appoint people, you also compare them to your resignation files, and that you know that there might be a chance of this person resigning because they might be a good match to the resignation file. So the system gives you wonderful resources to really optimize the workforce and to really create a healthy working environment with a ship that sails in a specific direction to a specific destination. Let me just, it doesn't look like there's any questions at this point. Sunny, I don't know if there's any comment from your side still.
Lizette, hi. Sorry. Thanks for the great presentation, Lizette and Suzanne. I just have a quick question. I receive regular questions from my clients asking, why can't the system administrator view the work relationship report? And why does it only go to the two individuals? So I thought I'd just put that out on the platform for you.
Thanks, Azelle. Thanks for the question. Sorry, I didn't see your face, but I'm happy that you just came in. That's fantastic. Very good question. Thank you very much. The specific reason for that, Azelle, is because of confidentiality. So the relationship report is between the two individuals that are in the relationship. It is on our wish list for our programmers to in future allow the two individuals once they request, or when the report is requested, to also add an additional email address, that of a manager or of a facilitator that's actually facilitating a possible conflict situation between two work colleagues. So that's on our to-do list, so that the individual can decide, do I want this report to go to somebody else? You know, we have the challenge is that if an administrator has access to just request these relationship reports, people sometimes request these reports without the consent of the individual, and we want to prevent that. In South Africa, our rules are not that strict, but in some of the countries where shadow match is used extensively, the confidentiality rules are very strict, and the POPIA Act and all the acts now used worldwide and enforced worldwide actually is very strict about the confidentiality and the consent of the individual. So I hope that answered your question. You could maybe just show by a thumbs up. Thank you very much. And I think that's something that we will definitely look at in the future, is to allow the individual to also send that report to someone else. At the moment, they can send that report once they've received it, but we will add the functionality so immediately as the report is requested, they can already say, send this to someone else as well. Suzanne, I don't know if you would like to add something. I'm going to put myself on mute and allow you to just maybe have a final word.
Perfect. Thanks, Lizette. Yeah, just a comment. I saw Shana asked a further question in the chat on this. She said, can we add a tick box to authorize that the consultant or coach can have access? Yes, Shana, that's exactly what Lizette referred to, is that is on our wish list of future developments, to say if the two individuals in the party from the get-go give consent for a third party to also have access to the report, that's part of the automated request of the report. So just as they approve to say, Lizette has requested this relationship with me, I can then approve, yes, Lizette can see this report, and my coach or my consultant can also see it. So yes, we'll definitely put that on the list. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Over to you, Lizette.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe just for those that haven't kept an eye on the chat, Juliet made a very valuable comment and a valid comment. She said it would be great to see what employees' perception is of success and fulfillment, and what is a healthy work environment. Thank you, Juliet. It's a very valid comment. I did quite a lot of research as well when I prepared for this presentation. And interestingly, most people do not see, you know, a funky work environment and snacks and stuff like that as a healthy working environment. People actually need to feel that I'm valued, that I have purpose, that I know where I'm going towards, that people care about me. So that's really, and in a lot of the consultation and surveys that we've done in the past, that actually comes out as number one. I want to be remunerated according to my value. In other words, pay me what I'm worth and pay me so that I feel that you see and you appreciate my work and have a bigger goal for me and a bigger purpose for me. So obviously there's more that we can add to that. We only have an hour to discuss, but yes, that's a very valid question because sometimes we think, you know, and then obviously, as you say, recognition, you know, recognize me, not just by paying me, but give me the award and award me if I've done something and, you know, send an email. In the years that I worked in the corporate environment, it was amazing by just sending someone an email. I started maybe just to share a quick story before we end. I started as a call center manager in quite a fairly call center in a company, and the people were really, really negative. And I started by just in the afternoon when everybody goes home, really out of my heart say, guys, thank you for today's work. We really appreciate it and you made a difference. And you won't believe what that meant to people. It wasn't an incentive and 1,000 Rand in the hand. It was really just a sincere thank you. People actually send me emails and say, you know what, nobody have ever thanked us for the work we do. So yes, you're 100% right. It's recognition, and it's not always the recognition as we think in the big sense. It's the small things that make a difference. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, thank you very much for attending. We look forward to seeing you next week at our Skills Group webinar. Please have a wonderful afternoon. And those of you that joined from the States, have a wonderful day. And we see you soon. Thank you very much.